story we just heard from one of the many people who has been touched by the Caring Place, an oasis away from medical facilities for healing the body, mind, and spirit of those touched by cancer. We are back here at the Palms in Las Vegas. You are listening to ESPN Radio 1100 AM, 98.9 FM's 24-hour talk show to benefit the Caring Place. This hour is sponsored by LASIK of Nevada, and we've got some great prizes available for those of you that want to make a donation and help keep the Caring Place free of charge. 702-953-7602. Each $50 donation receives an entry to win a pair of tickets for tonight's Strikeforce Challengers 17 event, which takes place right here at the Palms inside the Pearl, with the first fight underway at 6 o'clock. And football fans, you could maybe make a donation and receive an entry to win a Washington State football helmet signed by head coach Paul Huff. Mauro Ranallo along with Pat Miletich, Stephan Quadros, and our very special guest, Angel Garcia, coming to you from the Key West Ballroom here at the Palms. And before the break, Angel, you mentioned Josh Barnett as being the guy who you feel is going to win the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix. We talked about the plight now facing the tournament with the removal of Strikeforce Heavyweight Champion Alistair Overeem. But what an opportunity for Daniel Cormier. And you talk about a guy with an inspiring story. He, too, has been touched by tragedy many times throughout his life, and yet had the wherewithal and the desire, commitment, and talent to become a two-time Olympic wrestler. He's now an undefeated mixed martial artist, and with Overeem bowing out of the tournament, he will now face António Bigfoot Silva on September 10th. The other semifinal has Josh Barnett battling Sergey Haratonov. Let's get your thoughts, Angel, on the Barnett-Haratonov matchup.
Well, Barnett's he looks just too good. The last fight, he looked in shape. He looks strong. He just ran over his opponent. I don't see him stopping or slowing down unless he has some sort of freak injury we don't know about. I don't think anyone can stop him right now.
Stephen, how do you see that fight unfolding? Of course, you and I both know Haratonov from Japan. Barnett as well made his mark in Japan after becoming the youngest UFC heavyweight champion. We got the catch wrestling specialist against the striker.
I think that Haratonov is going to make a big splash because he's quite a bit better than Brett Rogers was, and he's very well versed on the ground. I think that he's going to be a nightmare for Josh Barnett standing up. Josh has got to take this fight to the floor, and I think he's going to tire considerably. I don't want to pick Haratonov because Barnett is a guy who's got much more championship experience. I think it's a toss-up, though. I think Haratonov can knock out Josh Barnett, but Josh Barnett will submit him if they stay on the floor.
Pat?
You know what? I agree a lot with what Stephen's saying. Haratonov, when I've watched a lot of tape on that kid, and when he corners people against the cage, that's the worst place you can be with that guy. He has very heavy hands, and if he hits people, they go to sleep. Josh Barnett, as we all know, has been KO'd by heavy punchers, so Barnett's got to be very cautious, and he definitely has the advantage on the ground, but standing up, man, if he gets his back against the cage, Haratonov's going to bring the heat, and that kid swings sledgehammers.
You bring up a very good point. Of course, I had a chance to cover a majority of his fights in Japan for Pride, and I can remember him doing just that against a guy who really shouldn't have even been in the ring at the time when Murillo Ninja Hua, went up to heavyweight, which was a bad mistake for the tournament. But he had him, Haratonov had him along the ropes and put together one of the nicest three-punch combinations you will see in MMA, knocking him out. And then he went and, dispatched Pedro the Rock Hizzo, who was one of the best strikers in the early days of Pride, in less than 3 minutes, I believe, in Pride. Standing. So when it comes to boxing, when it comes to striking, and this is a guy who has boxed in the past for Tajikistan, I know you're a guy who's also done boxing, Pat, and we always hear the big debate, boxing versus striking in MMA, two completely different things, and yet this is a guy who knows a thing or two about the sweet sides.
Yeah, boxing, when you get the experience training with high-level boxers, and I was very lucky to have the guys at Peña's Davenport Boxing Club. You got the Michael Nuns that came out of there, the Antoine Eccles, a lot of very tough guys, and in their heyday had probably the best amateur team in the nation and some of the best pros in the world. You just get so good at reacting and getting out of the way of things. The head movement. A lot of MMA guys do not understand the subtleties of striking, the feints, the fakes, the head movement, the elusiveness, things like that. So you're at another level overall striking, and Haratonov having the boxing experience, fighting very tough guys, you just don't want to stand up with a guy like that.
Angel, on the other side, of course, the new semifinal matchup, António Bigfoot Silva coming off the biggest win of his career against Fedor Emelianenko, taking on a guy, again, who has really been, I think, handled the right way by American Kickboxing Academy and the Strikeforce promotion, and Daniel Cormier, who has graduated from the Strikeforce Challenger Series. And again, we are here in Las Vegas for tonight's Strikeforce Challenger Series event on Showtime from the Pearl in the Palms. But Cormier, be careful what you wish for. He's getting an opportunity of a lifetime, but it is a very big test.
Well, he's coming from AKA, and after, the Miletich fighting systems, I think it's the second best, training area.
Well said there, buddy. Well said.
And
it's only because he's sitting next to me.
and I just believe that it's going to be a toss-up. I don't think.
You think you give him actually a pretty good chance?
Absolutely, I give him a puncher's chance actually, just because of where he trains and who he's training with and his fight partners. He has a chance.
Stephen, do you agree?
I think it's going to be a tall order for Daniel, but Daniel is Daniel Cormier, and we know what he's done in his life, the personal the things that he's overcome. I think that he's going to have to stay on the outside and shoot in for takedowns, ground and pound a little bit. Don't get caught up in the guard game too much, and repeat. That's the way he's going to beat Silva. Just stand in the pocket and trade with Silva. He will be able to outspeed Silva in the pocket, but it only is going to take one punch from that big guy to really convince him to go into desperation mode.
It's interesting you say that, and I tend to agree, although António Silva, he's very deceptive with his speed.
Well, he's good at countering. He's very good. He's long, he's rangy, big giant guy, so he can lean back out of the way of punches and then come back with counters. He did it well against Orlovsky, and Orlovsky wasn't moving his head. After Orlovsky would throw, Orlovsky's head did not move, so Silva was effective in that way against him. But Cormier is a lot more elusive. I think Cormier is a much tougher matchup for Silva than Overeem is, because if Overeem gets taken down, which Silva can do that. Silva could take Overeem down, and once that hits the ground, I think Overeem's dead in the water with a guy like that. Cormier is not going to get taken down very easily against Silva. He can take Silva down whenever he wants, hit knee taps, whatever, off balance Silva. He's quicker on the inside with his boxing. He's very elusive, and to be honest with you, I pick Cormier to win that fight.
I pick Cormier by decision.
Really? Wow. And Angel, you too? You're going to pick him?
Yes.
Do I have to be the dissenting
See how I affect people, Mauro?
Yeah, the dissenting voice here. I'm just very impressed with how António Silva continues to improve. And again, whether Fedor Emelianenko is motivated, whether it was the size, whatever it is, he did still vanquish one of the best heavyweights of all time. And that's got to be, he said, for something. And with Daniel Cormier, you guys truly believe that he's ready for a test of this magnitude?
I think he's absolutely ready for a test of this magnitude. Look who he's training with. As Angel pointed out, he's got Cain Velasquez in his camp and a lot of other great heavyweights. This kid can bang. He's a great wrestler. I mean, he's a total different level wrestler than 99.9% of the guys in this sport. He can take anybody down that he wants to, and he'll off-balance Silva at any time. And remember, Silva got knocked down by a light heavyweight. Mike Kyle dropped him and almost put him away.
Light heavyweight.
Yeah, big light heavyweight.
And Cormier is very quick and can get inside and land.
And Stephen, he doesn't know how to lose yet.
No, he doesn't. But the thing is, I asked Daniel when they first came across with the final 8 in the tournament. I said, "Aren't you a little bit peeved that you're not even in at that time?"
Sure.
He wasn't in an alternate match.
Yeah.
He wasn't. Now he is, and now he's in the tournament. But he wasn't. He said, "I'll get my time, and I'm ready. If they put me in, I'm fine. If they don't put me in, I'm fine." So I think Daniel Cormier is going to be unshaken completely. He's ready for this. I think the winner of this fight is going to be a great matchup for the winner of the
Barnett
exactly Barnett Haratonov.
Well,
fight.
we are looking forward to it. The Final Four, September 10th. Again, Daniel Cormier in for Strikeforce heavyweight champion Alistair Overeem against Antonio Bigfoot Silva. And on the other side, it will be Josh Barnett battling Sergey Haratonov. Again, we are here with the 24-hour talk show on ESPN Las Vegas Radio, 1100 AM, 98.9 FM. And we are benefiting the Caring Place. I know our colleague at Showtime, Al Bernstein, very heavily involved in the Caring Place through his family and whatnot. And again, all services are free of charge. And I mean, you heard the story coming back from break about the lady who was able to learn how to deal with her nausea. And I mean, this is really progressive stuff here. I mean, they deal in such healing arts as yoga, massage therapy, reflexology, and meditation. There are support groups led by qualified facilitators, nutritional counseling and information. There are group classes and activities, and also a lending library with resource materials about cancer in the Las Vegas or Southern Nevada area. The Caring Place located at 4425 South Jones just north of Harmon. And again, we encourage you to make a donation to help keep it free. Call the Wells Fargo phone bank at 702-953-7602. For every $50 donation you make this hour, you're going to be eligible to win a pair of tickets for tonight's Strikeforce Challengers event at the Palms inside the Pearl, and a Washington State football, or a Washington State football helmet signed by head coach Paul Huff. And we want to, of course, thank the Palms and the Maloofs for hosting this event. And you know, we talk about the Pearl at the Palms, guys, where we are going to make our Strikeforce debut tonight, having attended World Extreme cage fighting events there in the past. It's just a tremendous venue. It almost has that Fight Club type atmosphere, and it allows the fans to not only see the action but feel the action, Stephen.
Yeah, well, when you have that intimate environment, it's much better, because a lot of times people complain about big concerts. When they go to a big concert and there's 100,000 people there, you can't even see the guys like an inch tall, and then they got these video monitors. Your necks get stiff from looking up at the monitor. But a place like the Palms, it's going to be really, really good for anybody, even in the cheap seats.
Hey, Angel, you've attended events there in the past. What do you think of it?
WEC events, yes, and it was we had the cheap seats, and it was great. It's so small, but yet big enough. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I've cornered guys in the Palms, and the first time I saw it, I said, wow, this is a really cool design, actually. And I've watched some great boxing events there also, and there really is not a bad seat in the house, and it's a quaint atmosphere for violence.
Well, and we are hoping to see what should be a tremendous night of action. Preliminary card begins at 6 o'clock local time, and again, on Showtime, you can catch the five-fight main card. It gets underway 11 o'clock Eastern and 11 o'clock Pacific. Should be a tremendous event for the Strikeforce debut right here in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas. A week from tomorrow, I will be in Chicago for another major Strikeforce event. We've talked about Fedor Emelianenko and the main event against Dan Henderson. And the tagline I came up with, Stephen, was, it's not about titles, it's about pride. And there's obviously a double entendre there.
I like that.
But obviously, you and I both have had an opportunity to not only call these guys fights back in Japan where they made their legendary mark, but at this stage of their careers, I mean, just talk about how excited you are to finally see Dan Henderson, who, let's face it, a champion at 185, a champion at 205, now going up to heavyweight to take on one of the best ever in Fedor Emelianenko.
And he was also a champion at open weight in rings.
Weight, that's right.
32-man tournament. He took on big guys. Back then, Babalu was a heavyweight. Gilbert Ivel still is a heavyweight,
yep,
and beat both those guys. I think that this is such an amazing matchup. It's such an exciting fight. All the expectations go out the window when you got the Louis Kahn element. But the thing is, Dan Henderson is not a Billy Kahn. He's come right after you. He's more like a Rocky Marciano.
Yeah.
And Fedor Emelianenko is a really fast guy at 220. I hear he's going to come in at.
Wow.
This is going to be very, very explosive.
Well,
I think the first guy that lands is going to win the fight.
Well, we know about the trademark right hand, the H-bomb, for Henderson, and of course, like you say, the ground and pound, there it is, and the right hand from Fedor. But it's like what you just said too. We know what we can expect, but at the end of the day, I wonder, Pat, at this stage, I mean, who is this just a fight about, for the hardcore fans, for MMA fans, for each individual athlete, or how relevant is this fight at this stage?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I mean, Fedor Emelianenko can still destroy anybody on the planet. He's had two. How many guys have lost two fights in a row and people wrote him off and then they came back?
Absolutely.
Look at Tito Ortiz. If he wins his next fight against Evans, he's fighting for the title. Hughes lost 3 fights in a row and became the number 1 welterweight in UFC history. So, you can't write a guy off just because he's lost 2 in a row.
Well said.
That's the boxing mentality, I think, that has been kind of pounded into everybody's mind in America.